July 25th, 2018. I'm Lynn McCacken. I'm standing in for Mark Grimm this evening. He's not able to be here, and I'd like to go around the room as per he usually does and introduce the members of the committee, if you would.
Rick Touche, 32nd District.
Sean Ward, 16th legislature.
Non-member Merton Simpson, District 2.
Travis Stevens, 31.
Non-member, Mr. Dre.
Ray Joyce, 13th.
And you two?
Kevin Canizero, Majority Council.
Dick Curto, Director of Operations.
Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. So glad you could be here. Does everybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
What's that?
They don't
Probably wants to say the
I'm good with
12,
the answer to
Lady
that
12,
question.
yeah.
Yes.
John Curley used to run with it all the
We have
time.
a
Mighty
motion by
12.
Mr. Touche. Pass the minutes. Anybody want to second that? Thank you, Ray. You'll third it, okay. All in favor? Motion passes. Let's move on to resolution number 131, public hearing on resolution, public hearing on local law F, the anti-nepotism brought by Mr. Drake.
Thank you, Mrs. Chairwoman. I'm seeking today to move this to public hearing. It's already been moved out of 2 other committees, seeking a favorable recommendation to do so. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Ward, of course.
I always vote for anything to go to a public hearing, but there was some issues brought forward by the county attorney, and I think, before we approve a public hearing, I didn't read it though. I just got it.
Oh, you had that? I think so.
Forgive me if you didn't get one of these before we started.
I mean, is it proper to ask some questions about the bill itself before? And the only reason I ask is because if we decide we're going to make any other changes, it would probably make the public hearing null and void.
I'm okay to discuss it out of order, if that's okay with you.
Yes, please. We're going to be tabling the law in order to bring the public hearing forward. So this, in response to Mr. Ward, the changes are on, this amendment here exists as a result of the county attorney's opinion as well as some input from legislators. And essentially what we've done here is changed, we're doing an amendment to the local law number 8 of 2011, which we know as the code, the ethics law or the code of ethics. And it has been amended to, within the verbiage of the law, under section 10, nepotism has been amended. There's some questions that came up, essentially, because this already appears in the code of ethics, it will only apply to those positions already falling under local law 8 of 2011, which essentially are those that require financial disclosure. I'll save time. Some other things that were brought up, questions that were brought up in previous meetings, were if you were hired by Albany County, let's say several years ago, and you came up for a promotion in the future that might be a position that fell into this category, would you be prohibited from moving forward, or would whichever department be prohibited from moving forward? My answer is, the verbiage that we have here would not preclude somebody from taking a promotion that might fall under the jurisdiction of the ethics law. If you turn over the amendment to section 2 on the second page, under applicability and effective date, this says it shall not apply retroactively. Individuals who were hired by the County of Albany on or before the effective date of this local law shall not be impacted, which means in any way. So I know that's been a question on a couple of people's lips, and I'd like to put it to bed with that explanation.
Good.
Are we looking, I'm confused now. Is this local law F seeking to amend our,
Local law 8 of 2011, that is correct.
can we do that? I mean, wouldn't we have to repeal the original law or sections of the original law to do that?
We've not been told you can't.
I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just thinking out loud.
I'm giving you the same answer.
I mean, usually if you amend a local law, you either repeal it, repeal a section, repeal the law, and replace it with something, or you would have to go back to the original. I don't know how,
This is just adding a new section.
We're just adding a section.
but can you do it with another local law, I guess?
Yes, yeah.
You can? I mean,
Absolutely.
I don't know.
You can amend the local law with the local law. You can't amend the local law with a resolution. It has to go through the local law process, so it does have to have a public hearing, and it does need to go through, basically, through the formal legal notices associated with the local law.
Also, this is, again, using the jargon, pursuant to sections 22 and 23 of municipal home rule, which means that this is subject to public referendum. So the public decides on this. This can't take effect until that time.
So permissibly.
And what are the changes, what are the exact changes to the ethics law that we're proposing?
This is the underlying section here, under 10.
Yeah, no, I just got it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing coming out of the ethics law. This would be added.
Added
This is
in.
all new. Would just be a new section.
We're inserting this.
Has the county attorney looked at this version of it, Todd?
No, I don't believe so. But this is the amendment based on his comments.
So
Could we have him look at it, maybe?
would you be amenable to having him review it again?
To sign off on this,
Ensure that all
or?
of his issues are addressed
All right,
correctly.
didn't they-
Usually that's how editing goes in my world, but not.
It wasn't bad.
Back to
And I was here yesterday or whenever
Monday.
it was discussed. So I have a little bit more time to look at it, but most of the other people who are sitting here, I'm imagining this is the first time that they've seen it. Is that true, or do you feel like?
No, this is the first time I've seen it.
Mr.
There again, this is a public hearing request.
So for the public hearing, this.
We've
version-
already had a county attorney opinion on this, so I think it's fair to put this forward to public hearing, and we're tabling the law.
Oh, the county attorney did sign off on this.
No. We've already had an attorney's opinion once on this local law, proposed local law app. So I feel we're obfuscating the process at this point. If we go back again for another county's attorney opinion and so on and so on. So what we're looking to do is move this forward to the public hearing. We've already moved it at 2 committees to the public hearing. This is the 3rd. Okay, law has moved this out. And so, we're at a point now where we're going to take it we'd like to take it to the public. We still have time to work on the law if there are additional questions, et cetera, but.
Could I just jump in for a second? Mr. Joyce,
Yep.
the county attorney did look at the original legislation. The comment was that this would fit better in the ethics law. And in essence, it's the same language, but it's been moved to the ethics law. So to the extent that there was a local law provided before, that's essentially been abandoned for a change to the ethics legislation. The county attorney did look at the language in the first instance.
And we, according to the rules, we keep calling it local law F, although it is slightly different than it was before. Before it was a standalone law, and now it's an add-on. That's okay with everybody? Yep.
My recollection is that, and I don't have, does anybody have the ethics law with them? Do you have it with you?
No, actually, I was going to put a motion on the floor to move this.
Well,
Okay.
I'm still discussing.
Discussion?
Um,
Finish that first.
My recollection is that recommendations for amendments to the ethics law would be made by the Ethics Commission, because I know that was one of the charges of the commission when they were first commissioned, for lack of a better word, was to go through the law and make recommendations for updates, or, I don't know if that was in the law or if that was a charge of the commission, but I think we should check that before we go ahead with this. I think that's true.
We've got almost 30 days until the next public hearing, right? So if it could be true that the Ethics Commission is in charge of the Ethics Commission committing laws, whatever, the language of the Ethics Commission, which I don't think is 100% correct, but you might be onto something there, but I'm not
Researching
sure.
that as we speak.
So, it would seem to me that putting it in the public hearing for something 30 days from now, if it were, We could put a caveat that it has to be followed up, that it is in fact legal for the legislature to do so. We could certainly find that out in that time period.
I could also argue that the county attorney's opinion has been out for about 20 days now. You could have sent this to him to see if it,
Well, this is a response to the county attorney's opinion.
I know, but you didn't send it to him to see if he had an opinion on his opinion.
Opinion on the response to his
Let's stick to one
opinion.
argument at a time. If here we're going to continue discussing before we accept Travis's motion, or we're going to have to deal with Travis's motion. So, are you guys finished?
Well, he didn't get a second.
He didn't yet, so that would be my next question. So do you want to talk a little bit more?
Well, again, Mrs. Chairwoman, I don't think it's wrong to put this in front of the public, and we do have 29 more days to figure out if there's any sort of jurisdictional problem. I would be okay with if the motion were removed and resubmitted to suggest that it would be tied to the caveat that it is in fact lawful for us to amend the local law 8 of 2011, and if it weren't, we can remove it from the public hearing schedule.
Do you want to amend your motion, Travis?
The law moved this out?
Yeah, law moved it out, so law didn't think there was a law problem. So I don't know,
I've been practicing without a license for a long time.
Respect your opinion too.
I worked a lot on the ethics commission.
This is the public hearing that apologized that was not on this version.
We're talking about Monday, law passed about?
Yeah,
No,
And-
this version.
yeah, what was,
Public hearing that passed out was
The public hearing.
months ago, before
Well-
this-
oh wait, no, I'm
Did they-
sorry, am I misspeaking? Tim, I'm misspeaking,
Yes.
excuse me.
So what?
I am
When you say
misspeaking.
law passed it out, what
It
exactly
did not
do you
pass it
mean?
out. No, it did, it did not pass it on Monday. Forgive me.
So.
I
that's not a
confused
long
it with
time ago?
something else. I apologize. Brain is scrambled.
So where are we now?
So we are seeking to move it
We're
out.
seeking to move
Yeah,
it
sorry.
out. Travis?
Seeking to move it out.
Are you,
There were no legal, on Monday, however, there were no legalities questioned as to the ability to amend local law 8 in 2011. That is a true statement.
Received it as the meeting started.
So,
Did Law see this
since I
version?
was there, they got it, just like you're getting it, they got it on Monday. So I'm not certain that all those lawyers in that law committee had time to, have a good look at it.
My guess is all those lawyers in that law committee, most of them were probably not around when our ethics
Maybe.
law was passed.
Okay, so where are we? We have a motion on the floor, and Arnis has his hand up.
Logically, the ethics law may have a provision in there that permits the ethics committee to make recommendations for modifications. But clearly, the modification has to be done by the legislation. You could not have a circumstance where they control whether you change the
That's right.
legislation or not.
There's no question about that, I understand.
So if you want to modify, now, if there's a provision that it has to go for a recommendation or for a review or because it's just a piece of it, that certainly could be dealt with in the next 1 or 2 business days to figure that out. But in the interim, so we wouldn't have a public notice going out if it was premature. But otherwise, if this body found it acceptable to pass this, then it can move forward. So you don't have to come back and have the same conversation.
Would the law committee have to, if this has been amended, would the law committee have to look at it again?
They've already looked at it.
They looked at this version.
Yes, that was on Monday.
They didn't act on the public hearing?
We did not act in the public. Tim, what was the
law
official?
committee- The law committee had already passed it, had already passed the public
A
hearing.
different version.
A different version, they saw the same
Right.
version. Now, whether or not you want to argue if it's, what kind of a amendment it is, how substantial, that's
Right,
whatever your opinion is.
right.
March 27th. Okay. So it came out of law on March 27th. It was amended the other day, July 23rd.
Right.
And the amendment was not acted on. Was there any particular reason why the amendment wasn't acted on?
Because it would have to go to public hearing, and the motion could go to public hearing had already passed. Just,
Right.
if I could add one more item.
Okay, Ed,
There,
one more.
to add to the confusion. There has been a discussion that if it's determined by the chair of the law committee that the modifications were substantial, although it's the same text, it's been moved to a different location and, okay, but it's the same text, that there would be a request for the law committee to meet between public comment and the regular agenda so that they could pass this same resolution calling for the public hearing. Because the driving goal here is just to get it to public hearing.
Right.
Again, you're not modifying or agreeing with the substantive changes. It's to get it to public comment. So that determination as to whether the law committee has to meet again has yet to be determined, because as you pointed out, the law committee just met the other day, so.
So for the record, I'd like to say that, this is a local law introduced in March with approved public hearing in March that is still here today, nearing August. So that's why I'd like to get it to public hearing. I think this is a fair point. We've made the changes. We've consulted the attorney, and we'd like to move this forward.
Travis, you had a motion, what was it?
To move this public hearing.
Favorably?
Yeah.
Sean seconds that?
Well, I
Oh,
think we
Sean
have
has
to
been
amend it because the resolution states March
Okay,
27th.
March 27th.
With that amendment.
All right, with that amendment of what would the date be? August 28th?
But would the law committee have to go back and,
I believe they might have to, but
The law committee hasn't passed a public hearing on this first.
I'll go back to my first sentence. I very rarely vote no on a public hearing, but I do want to caution if there's substantial changes, we'll have to do it over again.
sounds like it.
So I will second the motion based on that.
Excellent. All in favor? You want to show of hands? So it looks like 4. We have one head on the table. You okay? And those opposed?
He's researching.
Those opposed, 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chairwoman, committee.
Mr. Chairwoman. So we're going to table then, table number 2, which is the actual local law based, and to wait after the public hearing. Number 3, which is a resolution 231, which is about requiring Department of Human Resources to initiate a pay equity study for all employees, was going to be tabled at the request of the sponsors. Mr. Fine is not in town. Resolution 283, promoting Albany County employment and promoting a diverse workforce by requiring Department of Civil Service to conduct outreach and training about available civil service job opportunities, is also going to be tabled at the request of the sponsors. Let's go to current business, number 5 on the agenda, resolution 335, adopting a policy regarding the legislative summer internship program, brought by, I believe, Mr. Katir, and he is not present, so I'm going to say that we're going to table it at the request of the sponsor. And we have a handout for this number 6 on the agenda, resolution number 336, requesting the county executive to conduct a feasibility study regarding the impact of paying all county employees a minimum rate of $15 per hour. The handout has an additional paragraph inserted. And hi, Ralph. How you doing?
How are
I
you?
thought I saw you here before.
Yeah, you
Ralph
can't
back?
miss me.
You're hard to miss. Did you want to say anything, Ralph?
As with all pieces of legislation, you want to move them forward. This is just something, I guess, to brace ourselves. State earlier in the year, I believe, passed the minimum wage. It's going to wind up taking effect. Don't hold me to it. December 31st of 2019. So when we start to move forward into our budgets, it's starting to look at what it's going to cost. So seeing as this is something that's coming up down the line, knowing sooner rather than later, because it's maybe not this budget for going into 2019, but going into 2019 into 2020, it will have to wind up taking effect. And I believe that there was an increase this year to $13.50, I forget. But there was an increase somewhere. But this is just asking what it is. There's no fiscal impact. It's just trying to find out, get some dollars, some facts, some figures, so we can wind up having that on hand for ourselves.
Anybody have any questions for Ralph? No? No questions? Want to make a motion? You want to
Second.
second it? So Ward and George. All in favor?
Okay.
Okay, motion passes. 6. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Mr. Ward and Mr. Stevens. What's that? Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you.